Good afternoon and welcome to the College of Engineering virtual brown bag session, where we dive into an interesting and exciting topic to learn more about. Hi, I'm JG McLaughlin with the College of Engineering, and I will host today's session. This Friday is our Alumni Spotlight session, and we're going to introduce to you a UTA alum who's doing some really unique and interesting work around process development and design engineering. I'll introduce our guest in just a second, who will talk about her journey, and then we'll open it up to a few questions from our audience by you typing in inquiries using the Q&A feature here in Microsoft Teams. So today I'm pleased to have with us Deepa Rajamani. Deepa graduated in 2004 from the University of Texas at Arlington with an MS degree in electrical engineering. And today she's actually senior RF engineer at Nuvotronics. Deepa's career includes more than 17 years plus of process development and engineering management. She's been responsible for assembly lab operations, leading assembly technicians, process and manufacturing engineers, and warehouse personnel. Deepa has extensive work also in design of experiments, design and manufacturing, FMEAs, and she's also got experience in industry standards for quality and problem solving. She has experience with Six Sigma, SPC, risk assessment, and 8D methodologies. She's joining us today from North Carolina, and it's our great pleasure to have you with us. Deepa, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you, JG. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here and feel honored to present. It's an exciting time for me in my career as well. Most of you may notice my title says Manufacturing Engineering Manager, and I'm right now making a shift to be a senior RF design engineer. And just a couple of months ago, I was going back and reviewing my books from Arlington, my coursework, and I'm like, okay, I need to familiarize myself with electronic circuits. So I'm excited to be talking to the students here and to the faculty and staff. I appreciate you having me. So can everybody see my screen okay?
Absolutely.
Okay. Let's see. Trying to for some reason it won't go into presentation mode. I hope this works. Yeah.
Yep. Right. I think I see your next slide. Yep.
Okay, great. So my goal was to be able to share with you my journey from being, a college student to a cube. And, there's kind of like a pun intended. Cube also refers to like, being in an industry or cubicle, right? And currently I work for Cubic Manufacturing, and we call ourselves Cube. So I thought I'd have a little fun with that. But my goal here was to see, okay, as students pursuing a degree, we all have a lot invested in terms of like time, money, and efforts. Not just us, our entire support system, right? And really, our what this does is, being part of a university like UT Arlington allows us like to dream big, to be able to achieve our career ambitions and personal goals. So we can ultimately be financially stable, secure, and also like, do what we wanted to set out to do in life, right? Build a car, fund charities. So it just gives you a whole lot of financial independence. But how do you get there from being a student? and establish yourself in the world of industry, right? My presentation here includes, okay, what are the relevant courses I took? What were the strategies I used to pick those courses? Once I had a good coursework established and in my portfolio, what kind of tips and tricks help me succeed with my job search? And now as a hiring manager, what are the kind of items that I look for from students or in my for my requisitions? And then you'll see a little bit of sneak peek into the exciting world of electronics design and manufacturing. And it's a sneak peek. If you definitely want to hear more, feel free to reach out to me through my email IDs. And then finally, you'll see that, as you hear, it's really simple, but it wasn't easy, right? So what are the kind of challenges I faced, and what was my and how I overcame those challenges. So that's what you'll hear today. All right, so we'll start with my new student experience, and I looked at this image of UT Arlington on the website, and I was like, yes, this is picture perfect. I arrived in Arlington in fall 2002, almost like 20 years ago. I can't believe it. I remember, like, as an international student, I was like continents away from home. So first when I landed, I was like really homesick, and also really nervous that I'd embarked on this, big journey, all alone. But as soon as I arrived and landed at the university, I was like flooded with resources. First, there was, the university student resource services that had ensured, we had all our bases covered in terms of, getting banks on site, the paperwork needed to settle down with our housing. Since we did not have any, there was no Uber at that time, so we had to rely on the community to make grocery trips to Walmart, and it was really nice when the community stepped up to do that. There were also bus rides that the university had arranged for to go around, and I know most of you must be past this phase, but I guess what I'm trying to say here is that with all these resources, it kind of helped me not worry about, okay, am I going to be able to make that grocery trip, or what about my bank account? I was able to focus on the real deal, get settled down, and then start get ready for my coursework. I really am grateful, and would like the Arlington community to know that UT is doing a great job there, welcoming the new students. So next year we'll talk about what was my academic portfolio at UTA. I graduated with a Master's of Science in Electrical Engineering. My background was in electrical and electronics engineering, and so I picked this as my specialty. And there's this abundant of courses available, right? And so what were the factors I used to choose these particular courses? So you see on the list, on the right side, the list of courses that I took. I first focused on, and it was a lot of like word of mouth and doing a lot of research, speaking to the senior students, interacting with the professors, and then, okay, who are the experts in this particular field, and so there were either experts. The professors and staff, at UTA, they were either experts in academic field or industry, and then obviously, like, some professors had collaborations with the industry, so it was a mix of everything, and then the industry trend at that time was transistors. So basically for electronics technology, it was transistors, and then miniaturization of transistors. So they were like, it's characterized by a feature of the transistor, and it would be in like microns. So it was like really exciting to be in the industry at that time. So I picked my coursework based on that. Like, how do I make sure that my fundamentals are robust to be able to support this industry when I graduate? And so I made sure that the courses like that you see in light blue were kind of the depth and specialty, and then these were like, okay, I have some core subjects to satisfy, and at the same time, how can I pick items in the communications industry so I can benefit from that. And I want to say my golden ticket to getting my job was the nanofab. And obviously, I don't want to say that was the only thing that got me there. It was kind of my background with the remaining courses. But the fact that I had experience in a fab environment, which is so rare to have, was really surprising to the folks in the industry. So they're like, "Oh, you know what we do here? Just come on board." But obviously, it wasn't that easy. I was hoping it would be, but I want to say the nanofab really helped kickstart my career. And then ultimately, like, I was not doing this, just so that I would land a job in the industry. It had to interest me. Physics and mathematics was always my strength, and so it was like, these subjects kind of help satiate those interests. So so I got a chance to take all these courses and then graduate in May 2004. At that time, it was now ready to start focusing on making use of my skill sets and landing the job, right? So so I started with, this first step here on the left. Like, what was my search strategy? So I remember spending a lot of time in this first section here. For instance, what are the relevant roles for this for my skill set and background, and so use that and you target those specific roles, right? Especially with keywords like process engineer, electrical engineer, manufacturing engineer. You find out that just because you have an electrical engineering degree, that doesn't mean you only get to be an electrical engineer in the industry. There are so many options. So kind of investigate that, and then build my resume. And as you build your resume, just as anything, you're always looking to sell yourself, but at the same time, you want to make sure it's accurate, because you can get called out on it, if you bluff. So that's very important. So building my resume and making sure I knew what was going in there. And the one thing that I really uncovered during this time that was critical was the cover letter. And I found that, by writing the cover letter, you kind of make it easy on the recruiter or the hiring manager to understand why you are a fit for that particular role. Because your resume has, a lot of information, and, for the most part, everybody is spending a few seconds, looking at your resume, but the cover letter kind of filters this information for them. So, and also helps them feel like you've given that position certain thought. Fourth was the location. The fact that I was like ready to move anywhere to get a job made it really easy. It opened like literally a world of opportunities. So I would say definitely be open to doing that. Fifth was my network. I want to say it was me and my army, because all this information that I was getting right from 1 through 4 was because of my network. It was like really wide, right, from the faculty at Arlington, from the professors, from my friends, from my family, from friends of my family, so you realize as you navigate through your job search process that there are a few who will stay committed to help you achieve your goals. So make use of that, and especially if they have some advice and experience to share, listen to it and see how you can use it towards your application. And the other was planning my day. It was really critical for me to stay focused on my job search. I had started some of it prior to graduation, but after graduation was when I started to focus on it. And it's easy to lose focus when you don't have a schedule. So make sure you have a good schedule. In doing that enabled me to, like, I remember going to the Central Library or Ransom Hall, and with my cup of coffee and my lunch, and making sure I stayed focused through the day and on my job search. And then as you do this, right, you have to be ready to get that call from a recruiter or a person that's going to interview you. So make sure you know your resume well. If you have any books you have to read or research, make sure you're on track so that you can't use the excuse that I was caught off guard. You have to be able to pick up that phone and answer any question they have to be able to move to the next step in the interview. So these are all the techniques I used to perform my job application process. But then what? Just like this message that you see here, it was over and over again. It's like, I'm sorry you don't lack the experience. I'm sorry, we're looking for somebody with experience, right? But it's like, okay, you have to give me this job for me to get the experience. But don't be discouraged. You know, when you hear words like that, or when there's radio silence, right? You put your heart and soul into an application. You think it's the best for you, and you know you don't hear anything from it. I know it's heartbreaking sometimes, but you know, just move on. If it doesn't happen, it was not meant to be. And then you always run into situations where, like, you know, there's a glimmer of hope, like the recruiter emails you saying, hey, you know, we're going to look into it. And then you're like, okay, you know, now that you've got the recruiter's attention, I've checked all the boxes, they're definitely going to call me. But, you know, there are so many cases where I was disappointed and did not hear anything from the recruiters. And then sometimes the item 4 here, it says you're not a match. Sometimes I'll say it was a good thing, because it was like, okay, I'm ready to move on. That role's not meant for me. But sometimes it was disappointing, because it's like, well, somebody paid attention to my resume and said I was not a match. It can be discouraging. But like I say here, just reset, refocus, readjust, and restart as many times as you need. Just never give up on your end goal. You know, let things go if they didn't work out. If you're able to, is reach out to the recruiters or the hiring manager to explain why they felt you were not a good fit. And you know, sometimes it helps, because I had a recruiter once indicate that I did not have a particular keyword in my resume. So then I realized, okay, maybe I need to start adding these, because, you know, I have the experience, or I have the coursework, I just don't have that particular word listed. So I started to use that. And then know that, you know, as you go through these applications, you are also starting from your experience. You know, you've made mistakes in the past, you've heard from recruiters, you've heard from your network, and you're building on. So as you apply more and more, you're really getting better and better at it. Broaden the search if you think it's not working out. You know, for instance, sometimes if you're focused to a particular location, say you're going to move beyond, sometimes you may be focused to a particular industry, but, you know, see, okay, I don't have to be in the electronics industry. I can be in warehouse and logistics, or I can be in the medical industry. You know, there's roles for every professional in every industry. So broaden the search. And then the last item to note here is know the jobs that you don't want. And I think I knew at that time the jobs that I did not want to take. I had a couple of offers, but I was like, you know, it's too risky. I feel like if I take this, my job is not guaranteed, and then I was going to lose the momentum on my, you know, finding the long-term job that was needed. So, and I also try to stay away from finding certain part-time opportunities because I knew that was going to distract me. And I know not all of us have that luxury, right? We are in dire financial situations sometimes where we have to work and look for a job. But you know, if you can stay focused on your long-term job search, it will definitely pay off in the long run. That would be my advice. I was grateful to have that financial support system to get there. And then know that you've got what it takes, right? But it's going to take everything that you've got. You know, it's not the same for everybody, right? Some folks get that call, you know, with their very first few applications. Some have to wait several months. I think by the time I got my first call, it was sometime in fall. So I started my applications in summer, but it was not until fall when I started to get interview calls, and I even went on site for certain interviews, and then as part of that, know that, you know, once you get the call for the interview, you know, focus now on preparing for the interview and not, you know, any more job applications. Be prepared for rejections, and I certainly had several of those. I was like, I was so good. Why didn't they hire me? Know that there are, you know, reasons beyond your control that that, you know, cause rejections, and then finally, like, you know, it will happen, and that's what happened to me. I got the offer, and was really excited, and was glad, you know, I took this journey from the start, to get my feet into the industry. All right, so now entering the industry, my first job was with Micron Technology, and I was really excited. It was in Virginia, and they were investing in a new fab. So it kind of had its link to the nano fab that I talked about earlier. But the nano fab, all our products were on like 2-inch wafers, probably like this size. But this fabrication facility in Micron was 12-inch sizes. So I know some of you may not be familiar with fabrication. What it is it's the technique of making electronic circuits on like in really small sizes. It's what goes into, you know, your phones, your laptops, or, you know, your iPads. You always have these chips or die, and they come from fabrication. So but Micron was a memory company, and so, which is again needed for anything we do here, right? Laptops, computers, cell phones. So so it was an exciting time to be at that particular company, and it almost felt like, you know, even though Micron was an established organization, it felt like it was a startup, because it was new technology. They were migrating from an 8-inch to a 12-inch size, which meant, you know, everything had to change, and hence, sorry, I'm getting distracted here with these messages. So everything had to change, because of which even the industry veterans, right? You know, they were uncovering stuff, learning stuff, and discovering. So I didn't feel like, okay, I was this newcomer, and, you know, others knew much more than me. It was kind of, we were all learning at the same time. But know that the industry, for those of you who haven't been in the industry, and it was for me like that when I first started in 2004, it was a really different environment compared to the university, because like the university is all catered around like the student, right? To make sure like we're successful. The industry, like, we're on our own, and, you know, there are other nuances, like, for instance, you know, I would be really quiet because it's like in a class, you don't say anything unless you have questions. But it's like, okay, you definitely want to speak up, either if you don't understand anything, or, even if you do, just kind of like, build that rapport and communication with the team, right? That was something new for me to learn. And then, you are new, so people don't expect you to know a lot. So use that opportunity to ask the question, and get your fundamentals right. And then the company, right, itself will benefit if you're asking questions. And what you find is, even today, I find that, right, as an experienced individual, that I take certain things for granted. And so until somebody asks that question, you never know whether you really know the answer to it or not. So message here is ask questions. And then there's, you'll see that there's always opportunities to lead certain things. There's projects that not everybody wants to do because it's too busy with their lives or their other responsibilities. So what I tried to do was take over those projects one at a time. So, so I can be connecting the dots. I can eventually become the expert, and, add value, and at the same time grow. Also, what I learned was it was really important to meet the commitments. You can't just go by the clock. You have to make sure you deliver on the task. And especially as a newcomer, so that your credibility can be built, and then you can learn from it and grow. So I didn't get a chance to speak about my exact role itself, but I'll just mention that in a few minutes. So my role when I moved from the university into the industry was really so related to what I'd learned in the university. It was all electrical engineering based, and it was like, how can I verify the electrical performance of the products that Micron makes? And what kind of analytics can I use to determine, is a product good or bad? And if it's bad, what went bad? And what went wrong to make it bad? And then that was one major step. Finding out what caused the issue. And then the second hurdle would always be, how do we prevent that from happening again? It's there's, and what I learned was actually, to make a small memory chip, there were like 500 steps. So, if you're trying to analyze what went wrong from the data that you got after those 500 steps, there are several factors. So, as you dig deep, you learn more about those processes and the people behind those processes, right? What they do, how they do it. It was almost like, being at like Disneyland or something, but in the field of electronics. All right, so that was my experience entering the industry. I spent about 3 years. So I spent about a year at Micron Technology, and then a couple of years at a Jazz Semiconductor company in California, and kind of building on these skill sets. And then I moved to, let's see if I can fix this. Okay, sorry about that. So then I moved into advanced energy in Colorado, and it was a slightly different industry. It was the field of electronics manufacturing, but it was taking devices from companies like Micron and Jazz and taking it to the next level, building products out of it. For instance, like maybe building a phone. What are the steps needed to make sure you can build a phone, get all the components right, and make sure it's reliable. So there's several techniques and processes. So this is where like really I started to say, okay, I now need to like grow beyond my electrical engineering degree. I need to be learning new piece of equipment. So here's an example of an equipment, and it's called a wire bond. What it does is it's kind of like a sewing machine, but for electronic circuits to make a connection from one item to another. The wire that is used in this equipment is probably like 25 microns. So it's really tiny, and so you have to be sure you can make those connections, but at the same time, right? If those connections exist in a component like your phone, how can you prevent those connections from not falling apart every time somebody drops a phone? So learning how you do that and making sure when you build a part it's robust. There's several techniques. One is learning the equipment, how to build it, and then the second aspect was how do you design it? How do you design a product so that it's robust? And so for that, I had to learn a little bit of mechanical design software, which was totally new to me. But I decided to do that because it enabled me to make the products that I built better and understand them better. And then a huge part of the learning process was problem solving. It's kind of like it's something you can use anywhere in your personal life, in any industry, and it's basically if you have a problem, how can you methodically solve it? So how you identify the problem and then take steps to analyze it, gather the evidence, find a solution, and then validate the solution. So this is kind of like a mantra I use almost every day, and like I say, I use it in my personal life even, because it's just so well structured. So doing that also enabled me to like bring teams together, because as I worked for various companies, right, Advanced Energy, and then I worked here for 5 years. I then moved to Teradyne, where I learned a little bit of like mechanical design, testing, and also led the activity to build products and how do you design them better. And then I spent a year at Phononic here in North Carolina, where I learned more piece of equipment because it was a startup, and it was a production facility, a high volume production facility here in North America. And so there's like a lot of automation. It's kind of like, what you see on TV sometimes where cars get built, a lot of automated robotics to help build product. But, how do you ensure that all of those robotics are working right. And so that was my job, setting up the equipment, picking the right equipment, the technology to do that. And then I slowly started to be part of people management, and which was really exciting for me because I felt like, you know, I could enable people to grow and achieve their career path. So I started that, and then here at Nuvotronics, I've been here 5 years now, and I was able to use my background in manufacturing from all those years, right? Starting from Micron Technology in 2004 to make us into a really robust manufacturing facility. And obviously we have like a great team here to enable that. And as part of this growth, I was also able to, hire engineers and mentor and train individuals. We have both a manufacturing facility, which we call assembly, and we also have a warehouse team, which is kind of like, the Amazon, but Amazon shopping, right? But it's really not as large, but small. But how do you make sure all your inventory is in place, the supply, the demand, how do you manage all that is really interesting, which ties in so well with manufacturing. So I continue to learn even today, and I'm beginning to make a transition to design engineering, where I want to be able to use, all my experience in manufacturing to design products that help the manufacturing team. And so it's an exciting phase now in my career. All right. So what I wanted to talk about a little bit was my experience as a leader in the field of engineering. And I feel like there are a few things that I've seen in several individuals, and I just wanted to identify some of those characteristics that I practice as a leader, and which I've seen help other individuals, either choose their path towards leadership or just grow individually, right? So how did I get here, right? I think one of my key characteristics was to always have that big picture view and that vision. It's like I was mentioning earlier in terms of the job search, right? You're going to have several obstacles and several rejections, but your end goal is getting the job, right? And so you have similar situations here where you run into so many issues and challenges, either technically or from like internal employees or from your suppliers or your customers. But how do you ensure you're always looking at that big picture and have that vision? Okay, our end goal is to be able to sell this product or be able to be successful with building a phone. And so how do we work together and collaborate, right? And so having that big picture view and vision is really critical. And then next is identifying gaps and taking steps to execute on it. I've noticed that has been key in helping me grow. So you'll find that there are so many gaps as you enter the industry, right? And I call it gaps, or you can say opportunities to improve, right? So after a while, if you don't fix those gaps, they tend to like becomes major problems. So I would always like lean towards resolving those gap issues, and so that helped me like grow, like learn so many things in the process, and also help the company and the team. So you'll find that not because all of these issues require collaboration with various teams. Like for instance, you tend to have certain issues because it's not only a design engineering problem, or it's not only a manufacturing problem. It's just a combination of things. So how do you bring these groups together and encourage them to find a solution, and so it's in everybody's best interest. So definitely doing that helped me grow, and also help me lead. Leading by example is key. You just don't want to like preach. I practice what I preach. If I can't, there's so many things that I cannot do, and those are definitely things that I don't beat up people on, right? Because I understand. At the same time, I understand, what everybody has their strengths and weaknesses. So how do you make sure you enable somebody to pursue their strengths? And if they would like, how do you resolve their weakness? And so how do you empower individuals? So not just yourself, but people around you. And then ensure you're always fair and accountable. It is the people based, right? So there will be certain folks that you can be friendly with, and those who you cannot. But when it comes to being a leader and a manager, fairness is of extreme importance. Otherwise, it's going to like really ruin the work relationships. And then I really can't motivate, recognize, and reward my employees enough, because I see them accomplishing like significant tasks every day. And so I'm kind of, I tell them I'm their cheerleader, and so the more you do, they feel like good coming into work and being part of the team, and just continue to be a good ambassador of the team as well. And what I mean by that is, as my team or my employees come up in conversations with outside the group, make sure I'm protective of them, and stand up for them and all the good work that they're doing. And then, as always, just whatever role you're playing, just continue to be genuine, humble, and respectful, because after several years, a few years, you realize like titles not necessarily indicate that your contribution. There's people across, starting from like the VP to a manager to an engineer to a technician. Everybody is playing their part to make the company successful. So those are kind of been the rules that I've been going by, which has helped me grow and get me to where I am today. Right. So so I guess I want to say like, okay, enough about me and my journey. what I want to do now is, I know we're running short on time, but you probably have heard this before, but I just want to say, okay, you know, if there are folks here in the audience today that's looking to find a job, or you know, eventually you will be there, what are the things you look for? So finding the right role is critical, and so and how do you determine that? Do that based on the coursework you pick. What are your long-term career goals? Do you see yourself being an individual contributor, or do you see yourself becoming a manager and a leader? So do you want to pick a satellite office, or do you want to pick the headquarters, or does it not matter to you right now? So give some thoughts through that. Build your portfolio. Know that it's very critical to be able to let either the recruiter or the hiring manager know that, you know, why should we pick you and not others? Because you know, you are aware that there are several students, you know, as part of the same batch that you're graduating with, but and you know very well that there are some, you have certain strengths, and so be ready to build on that and sell yourself with respect to that. And you know, do whatever it takes, right, to get your resume out there with all the social media outlets we have. Applications, again, use the social media outlets or anywhere and everywhere. You know, when I was applying for my job, I don't think LinkedIn, I don't know if it existed. I don't, it's been a while now. But I actually went door to door applying for jobs. I know now companies would not allow for that for security reasons, but you know, at that time it was okay to do it. You know, use your network to reach out. You know, don't feel shy to reach out for jobs, because you know, don't feel intimidated, and know that you know, once you get a job, you will be in a position to help others and, you know, return the favor. So definitely reach out. Preparing for your interview is key. You know, that can make or break the deal, right? Being picked for interview is like is a great thing. So you definitely don't want to lose out on that opportunity. And then you know, be accepting of the fact that you know, if you get rejections, you know, some of you may not, but if you do, that it's okay. You know, just be ready to put that behind you and move on. And you know, definitely, if you feel you were a good fit for the role and you don't know why, ask that question. And most folks will be willing to answer that for you. Okay, from a hiring manager perspective, what am I looking for in my candidates? You know, so this is like from the other side, right? And you know, it is painful to reject. You know, as I go through every resume, I know I've been through this journey of finding my job, so I make sure I do a good job of screening and asking the questions. But what I'm looking for is, you know, when I have a posting, is the applicant, do they have relevant background for this position? And typically, like say I post about 10 skills required. I'm looking for the candidate to satisfy about 4 or 5 at the least. So know that you don't have to check all the boxes, but at least some of the boxes. That's what, you know, I'm looking for, and obviously depends on the pool of candidates as well. When you build your resume, what I found was, what I see is extremely important is focus on the job description. for instance, you may have experience building computers, phones, iPads, but if the job requires you to build a phone, focus on that alone, because otherwise it's a little bit of noise. Definitely use a cover letter, and it helps me screen the candidate and know why that candidate is motivated to hire, to apply. And then, after all the interview process and the application process, I'm looking for, okay, I interviewed about 5 candidates, and everybody has certain strengths, but what does my team really lack? And, my team lacks these 3 skills. This one person has those 3 skills, even though I needed, even though the other person has 6 skills, but it's not what my team needs right now, I'm going to hire this person, right? So it's not always based on you, it's based on, the team. And then sometimes, you may have out of, the candidates, none of them might meet the requirement, but I'll be thinking about, okay, does this candidate have the potential to add value in the long term? And it helps, it helps bring somebody who doesn't have experience into the group, because then it helps us change the way we've always been doing things. It helps with innovation. It helps with efficiency. So yes, I'm looking for somebody who has the potential. And then definitely one of the factors, I wouldn't say the only factor, but one of the factors is, what does a person make? Do I have the approval to hire that person, to make the offer? So I look for this criteria while hiring, and know that, most hiring managers are looking at it from this perspective. It's not because you are not a good candidate, it's because you don't fit, the entire bill that they're looking for. Okay, so I'll just come down to my last slide here, which is where I am today. I am at work at Cubic Nuvotronics. We have a really exciting technology which is called polystrata. It is disruptive in the RF world because we can achieve like really low losses for high frequencies. So we're building components that go into the space, that are used in communications, that's used by defense, and then test and measurement. If any of you out there are interested in learning more about the technology, and are into like circuit design, and want to know more about this, reach out to me. We are also excited about launching a polystrata design kit, which would ultimately allow students and our customers take our device and design whatever they want out of it. Stay tuned for that. Okay, I want to thank UT Arlington, JG and Tracy, and I know Jeremy. Tracy is not here today, but Jeremy, thank you for the opportunity. I'm honored to be here today and to present to this group. I'm again grateful for the leaders here at Cubic to have started this collaboration with the university, and we're looking for interns, to help us grow. And I don't see the audience here today, but I want to say thank you for listening and your patience.
Well, Deepa, thank you for giving such a great presentation on your path since leaving here at campus. We do have a couple questions, and first is, what's the most important thing you learned during your job searches that helped you land a position? And maybe even if you could talk specifically to your very first role after leaving UTA.
Sure. The first, I want to say the eye-opening factor to me was the cover letter. Is making sure, I think the cover letter helps sell you for that role. So even though people focus on the resume, you know, the resume is built around, okay, what are all the things you have done? But if you focus on the cover letter, or it can even be the email that you send to the hiring manager or the recruiter, hey, these are the things I think will help me contribute towards a role or make me a good candidate. I think that helps you, helps your resume get in front of the hiring manager.
Thank
Great
you
question.
for that. Yeah. Next one is, now that you're at a point in your career where you're hiring people, what's the biggest thing a prospective employee should do, and what's the biggest thing they shouldn't do?
Okay, I can tell you the biggest thing they shouldn't do is definitely not sign up for what they don't want, in terms of whether it's in terms of salary, location, responsibility. Like sometimes, you know, you're so desperate to get a job that you're like, okay, I can do whatever it takes. But if you're not really ready to do that, don't, because it's going to be miserable for the team and for you, because it's really not what you signed up for. There will be an opportunity that works for you in some other company. So definitely, you know, if it's something you don't want to do, don't do it. The thing which I would say do is yeah, this ask questions, right? So what was the question? What should they do to be able to land?
Biggest thing as a prospective employee should do, and biggest thing shouldn't do. Yeah.
Yes. So should do is ask questions on, you know, what the role actually requires. Sometimes it's like what you see on paper is different from what the team or the person expects. So like ask questions, you know, don't make it, the interview should not be that the hiring manager is interviewing or the team is interviewing you. It should also be that you are interviewing the team to know, okay, am I going to be a good fit? You know, am I going to like this team? Am I going to want to work here? So, you know, definitely do that and be prepared with those questions ahead of time before going for an interview.
Absolutely. Well, Deepa, really appreciate you. Thank you so much for joining us today and giving your insight on what it's like in industry and what it's like to be a student on campus who's getting ready to go into that world. We really appreciate you sharing about that and what you're doing also now at Nuvotronics. Thank you for that, and thank you for joining us today. I will encourage our audience to also follow our other MAV, our other virtual brown bag sessions. Next one coming up is on epic MAVs and entrepreneurship, and another that's also going to be presented is the secrets of ancient Roman construction material next week. So thank you, Deepa. Appreciate you being with us today, and to our audience, have a good weekend.
My pleasure. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Deepa.
Thank you.